But staying with babies, an estimated 15 million babies are born too early every year. That is more than 1 in 10 babies, and approximately 1 million children die each year due to complications of preterm birth. Many survivors face a lifetime of disability, including learning disabilities and visual and hearing problems. Globally, prematurity is a leading cause of death in children under the age of 5 years. And in almost all countries with reliable data, preterm birth rates are increasing. Inequalities in survival rates around the world are stark. In low-income settings, half of the babies born at or below 32 weeks die due to a lack of feasible, cost-effective care, such as warmth, breastfeeding support, and basic care for infections and breathing difficulties. In high-income countries, however, almost all of these babies survive. In Ghana, there are no proper structures to help these babies born too early to survive. I've been joined in the studio by someone who's making a difference in that area, Awal Mohammed Kariama. Well, he's the executive director for RISE Ghana. RISE is a rural initiative for self-empowerment. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
So give us a general idea of how difficult it is to cater for babies that are born prematurely, how bad the situation is for the people that you come into contact with.
Yes, so thank you very much. Let me first of all use the opportunity to say good morning to your wonderful viewers and to thank you and management of Multimedia for the opportunity to talk about this important matter. Actually, dealing with preterm babies is a very serious matter in that preterm babies are very delicate babies. They are delicate babies because when they are born too early, earlier than normal babies are born. So most of their systems are not mature in terms of their brains, and other body parts are not fully mature. So they are highly susceptible to infections. So when you are handling preterm babies, one of the protocols you need to do is to wash your hands before you handle them. So imagine that you have a baby and that you tell your relatives and other community members that they have to wash their hands anytime they are handling the baby. And so people become suspicious. They think that are you overly protecting your baby? So it's a challenge, and the concept of prematurity, people don't really understand. There are people who refer to preterm babies as rats. They don't see them as children because they are so tiny. Some of them actually can
fit in the palm
of their hand. So it's quite serious. And also normally preterm babies is not something that is expected in our health facilities. So even though we prepare mothers for delivery, rarely will you see people talking about, unless the person has a history. And sometimes prematurity cannot be determined that it will happen or not, because it can be as a result of abstention during pregnancy. So you see that one becomes spontaneous. So the mother is not aware of it, the community is not preparing for such a baby. So when that happens, it's difficult for the community to be able to accept that kind of babies. But granted, Ghana Health Service and community civil society actors like RISE Ghana and the coalition of NGOs in health are doing a lot to be able to communicate to people on the importance and how to understand that preterm babies are just born too soon. They are normal babies like other babies, only that they need some specialized form of care because they are more susceptible to infections. So they need to be handled well. So the community perspectives around that, there is a lot of progress, but also there's a lot of stigma around it that the Ghana Health Service has done a lot of work. Other actors, UNICEF and others, are supporting.
I find it a little bit strange, to be honest with you, that there's a certain sort of stigma around preterm babies here in Ghana, because a lot of these babies are not physically deformed. Yeah. They're really just underdeveloped, so they'll come out with inadequate lung function or just really tiny.
Yes.
So I don't know if you can help me to really understand exactly what the stigma is about, especially if we understand that a woman, carries a baby for 40 weeks plus or minus 1 or 2. And so if the baby comes at 32 weeks or 33 or 34 weeks, how is there a stigma around the fact that a baby has come early?
Okay, so not to justify the stigma, but one of the common feature among preterm babies is that when you look at the preterm baby, normally the normal size of babies.
Yes, so
they are big.
Yes.
But these babies are smaller.
They are very small.
They are very small.
Yeah.
Number 2, when you look at a preterm baby, most of the times you see the head. The head stands out.
Obviously.
So they usually the head, the way
because
the
body
head is exactly, the body has had time to fill out. So you see the body, and then some of the preterm babies tend to be a bit hairy.
Yes,
than,
of course, because they haven't lost their hair
exactly, exactly. So all because that's not what the community normally sees. This stigma is not justified in any way. It's about, like I said, the health system need to prompt people. When we talk more about it, like you are giving us the opportunity to do it, a lot of people will get to understand that these are normal, and anything outside the normal is something that people's mindset are not accommodated to.
But why are we even giving the community access to these babies? I've worked on a neonatal intensive care units before, and the normal practice is that it's nuclear family, is mother, father, that have access to this child, because their immune system is not developed well enough even to be able, to be exposed to people. You can't vaccinate them because they're way too young. So why are we actually in the first place giving the community access to these babies?
Okay, so now I don't think that as it is, the community is giving access to the babies. What happens is that when the baby is born, they stay in NICU for some period, so that basically the NICU, for our listeners' sake, is the neonatal intensive care unit, where the baby is given the specialized attention they need. So that place, one of the protocols that the mother is supposed to adhere to is the skin to skin.
Yes.
Kangaroo mother care, where the mother keeps the baby tied to the chest to provide warmth, because these babies actually, because their brains are not fully developed,
they can't regulate
sometimes they forget
themselves.
to breathe.
Yeah. And for our listeners who are not sure what skin to skin is, it really is putting the child and the inside of your clothes, so that there's the skin to skin.
Yes, the body is touching each other,
so that you are sort of regulating the baby's temperature and all of that.
They suffer from low temperature, and when that happens, the warmth of the mother will connect.
And a lot of them can't feed. Either. They can't suckle.
Exactly, they can't suckle. So, but when you also do the skin to skin, it stimulates the production of breast milk.
Yes.
You're able to generate more breast milk, the more breast flows, and the baby is able to take. So the protocol within the NICU is that they allow the mother once in a while to come in and do that NICU. But what we are moving also towards is that promoting kangaroo father care.
Okay.
So that, the theme for this year actually is providing the necessary care at the right place, at the right time. The quality of care at the right place at the right time, so that one of the sub-teams is nurturing care. And nurturing care basically provides the connectedness between the baby and the mother, so that the baby is able to have the necessary connection and the bonding with the mother. So if we take the family out, it's a bit difficult, but the Ghana Health Service as it is does not provide opportunity for preterm babies to be exposed to the communities. But of course, when you give birth, after some time, you have to do naming ceremony.
And everybody.
When you go home, after they discharge you, the first 28 days of a baby's life are the most dangerous. The first day the baby is born is the most dangerous. Then the first 28 days. So within this period, the more the mother does the kangaroo mother care and breastfeeding, if she does the breastfeeding in the optimal way, the baby is discharged earlier.
But the thing is, you can't rush time. So if a baby is born at 32 weeks, you can't, as much of the kangaroo care as you give, as much of the breastfeeding that you give, a baby born at 32 weeks in 4 weeks is still a 36-week-old baby. It's still not a full-term baby. So you can't rush time. So, I mean, does our focus need to shift from what's happening in the hospitals to having the community understand that this is not some sort of disfigurement? It's actually, like you said, a baby that has been born too soon, and that they're actually no spiritual, as it were, reason.
At all. There's no spiritual reasons at all. But unfortunately, we tend to be very spiritual people, which
about
is not
everything.
About everything, which is not bad. But we need to situate our spirituality in context, so that it does help us to develop as a community. I think that in the terms of addressing issues of preterm babies, the focus actually should be three-pronged. From health workers, from the institutions, and to the community level. We are talking about the fact that the theme for the year is to give birth to babies and provide them care at the right place at the right time. But as we speak, 42% of our health facilities don't have water. I
mean, so how then do you even talk about incubators?
Exactly.
Yeah,
if 42% of our health facilities don't have water, the World Health Organization recommends that there are 6 standards of cleanliness for health facilities to adopt if they want to save babies. First of all, the birthing space must be clean.
Yeah.
Without water, you cannot achieve that. When you are cutting the cord, tying the cord, and caring for the cord, you need water. All these 3 protocols cannot be adhered to if you don't have water in the facilities. When you are going to the perineum, handling the perineum, the area between the, you need water. All these things in those health facilities without water, you cannot achieve that. And we are talking about the fact that majority of our women, almost half, are not attended to by skilled birth attendants. And when you are attended by a skilled birth attendant, the propensity of reducing preterm babies is up to 24%. So we need to, government needs to invest in the right places. The communities need to support our mothers. And we're saying that, look, adolescents have a higher risk of postpartum depression. Basically, it's a condition where women suffer from depression after giving birth.
Yeah.
And adolescents have a higher propensity. But our adolescent health facilities are not adolescent friendly. So adolescents are not able to access the services that they need. So we need to invest a lot into the systems, to strengthen our health systems, to make sure that they work and they deliver opportunities for the people who need them. So it takes government, it takes civil society, it takes the community. All of us must put our act together and invest, because when we invest, then we are going to create wealth. We're going to ensure that the universal health coverage, we have targets in terms of the fact that nobody should be burdened in accessing healthcare. Universal healthcare provides that everybody should have access, but yet about 20% of the people have to sell their access to be able to access healthcare.
Wow,
I mean, nobody should be burdened giving birth, because it's a basic human right to procreate. So nobody should be burdened. Unfortunately, that is a system that we have, and we must use the opportunity of preterm babies, prematurity day to speak about it, to galvanize the necessary support, and to hold our duty bearers accountable. We need to make the right investments in the right places to ensure that our health systems are stronger. And then also we introduce a lot of innovations, a lot of standards. We raise the standards for the Ghana Health Service. We ask them to uphold. But in terms of the health workers force, they don't have the necessary capacity. They don't have the necessary support.
Training,
staff are overworked. Health service, you go to a health facility, one midwife is delivering so many children, and she doesn't have the, especially where they stay in the northern parts and some other parts of the country. We have what we call the CHIPS compound, the community improved facilities, health facilities. In that those facilities, the nurses actually stay in the facility, so they come anytime. You know, most of the deliveries, I don't know why, but they happen in the night. So when the parent is trying to get some sleep, there's a lot of pressure, and the more the person is tired, the ability of the person to deliver is sacrificed a bit. So we need to be able to support the health workers to be able to deliver. We need to make the right investment, and that's why we are happy that UNICEF, the World Health Organization, is doing a lot of investment in this area. As we speak, we are talking about delivering babies at the right time. The Australian High Commission in Ghana is supporting Rise Ghana, and we're putting up a 20-bed capacity maternity unit for a community in Tuchulga. And that project demonstrates the power of community engagement. Because basically the project was conceived because a water facility was provided to address this problem that 42% don't have water. And based on that, the community was happy. They engaged the Australian High Commission that they needed further support, because once the water is there, it has expanded the demand for the service. And so the Australian Commission is doing that. If we can get most of our embassies, most of our donors, most of our government agencies, most of our digital to refocus and invest in these areas, we are going to have better health outcomes. And the more we have children getting better access to healthcare, it will reduce the burden on mothers, it will reduce the burden on adolescents. And some of our adolescents have a higher rate of maternal mortality. The maternal mortality among adolescents is higher. And so we need to be able to support them, because people should be able to choose beyond just giving birth. They should be able to choose when and whom they want to give birth to. Unfortunately, this information, and according to UNICEF, about 34% of youth cite that they don't particularly go to health facilities because it's not friendly. It doesn't serve their needs. So we need to address these holistic areas and ensure that babies that are born too soon survive and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us with that this morning.